All right, welcome to our first lecture, kind of slash office hour. Hi, I'm Patty, and I want to welcome you all to the course. As I mentioned, that our tutor is here in our session with us this time. She'll probably pop in and out, but I'm going to start there with our tutor. Oh, so Natalie is our tutor. She said hello in the chat. Um, Tutoring is a really important part of, I just think, the college experience. So I think a lot of people in the past think tutoring, see it as kind of like a negative thing, like you have to be failing or something like that. But in reality, the tutoring is, I think, one of the most important parts of the classes. So here we have a tutor that Santa Barbara City College has paid to be a private tutor to you guys. And it's not some general tutor that, um, just knows the topic. Uh, this tutor is a specific tutor for this class. And because of that, she's going to know what is required in this class and present that information to you. So her sessions aren't just, she's not just going to sit there and answer questions. She's going to have planned things for you to do, or to, plan sessions where she has an agenda. All right. So even if you don't have questions, it's important to attend if you can. She has made an evening session and a Saturday session to accommodate, a lot of people who work. And I think, I'm not real sure, but I think this population are busy people. Not that all students are busy people, but I think you guys are busy people. So she's trying to make, accommodate you guys. So anyway, I want to encourage you to go see the tutor. She's looking at the class carefully and seeing how she can, of course, be a benefit to you and provide for you guys an experience that's going to be, above and beyond what the class, what's presented in the class, but that's going to save you time in studying. Because she's going to go through and see what you need to know for the exams, especially quizzes and exams, and going to kind of streamline that and present that information, so you can save time on your studying. All right, so with that, this actually, and I'll tell you that this is the first time that I am teaching this course. I mean, I taught it years and years and years ago, but luckily I was able to teach it from here on out. And because of that, this course, the online part of it, is completely new. All right, so I've created this course from scratch, with nothing, and I all the lectures and everything, all the exam questions are all created by me. I don't use like publisher or textbook word banks. Okay, every question I am creating on my own based on the the study guide and the information that I've chosen to present to you guys. So with that, there's going to be some mistakes. There's going to be some errors, some things that, some links that I forgot to link, because again, it's all from scratch. So if you see a problem, please contact me right away. Okay, just shoot me an email, say, hey, this link went nowhere, or this question was weird, or something wasn't visible, I couldn't see something. Let me know right away. Again, you guys are the first class that is going to see this course. So please be my eyes and ears too, right? Because there's a lot of videos and recordings and things like that. So if there's a problem, please point it out right away and then I can fix it. So and then on the other hand too, I'll be kind to you guys and knowing that we're kind of doing this together for the first time. And I don't know, hope that's comforting to you. But please, I'm very open to pointing out problems in the class. All right. So this, as I've mentioned, is the homepage in the orientation video. If you have not watched the orientation video, it's really, really important that you do it. It's not a side thing. It's something that I'm assuming that everybody watches. And what that does is it saves me time and effort in having to answer the same questions and having to utilize this time here. Because it's only, once a week for an hour. I don't want to utilize it in something that has been already presented in the orientation video. So please, please, please watch it. It's really important. I show you a lot of things in there, what you're to do in the class. All right. Let's see. Very chat. Okay. Let's see. And if, feel free to unmute and talk. Okay. You don't, if I don't see your chat, if you have a question or something like that. So in today's lecture, I want to go over, we'll answer any questions first. If you've looked through the class, is there anything that what wasn't clear in the orientation or just kind of looking through the class?
Just one quick question.
Yes.
So, all the exams, quizzes and exam, we have this lockdown app. So this my first time gonna be using. So you're seeing like the syllabus, and it's like we could look at it and we could take a quiz with the syllabus. Is it gonna be like a lot of red flags?
So the like all the quizzes, so if we look at kind of, for every chapter, there'll be the lecture. All right. So this is just a video of me lecturing. So, you're gonna watch me there. And then but there are embedded questions. So you can use your study guide, you can use your notes to answer those. And that one doesn't have the respondents, it doesn't have the proctoring. And
So for the syllabus quiz, I haven't started yet because I wasn't sure like how it's gonna be. So I
like,
was a little
so
bit
you
afraid.
know what? Just take it and it's not proctored.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's nobody watching. I mean, there's no recording of you. You're not going to be locked out of anything. You could go anywhere. And in addition, these chapter quizzes are also not proctored because they are open notes also. And all of these are, you can do them multiple times, unlimited. So I put a lot of thought into, okay, what do I want? Um, I don't want this course to be real stressful, right? So these quizzes are uh, unlimited and open notes. Okay, I want you to get the information. I want you to understand it. Now, what I do encourage you to do is to take it multiple times. Even if you get a 5 out of 5 the first time, all right, don't be happy with that score because what you want to do is you want to see the questions. The more times you take it, you're going to see a different quiz every time, and there'll be a point where you've seen all the questions. Um, and so you just want to do that. I think I have it as keep your highest score, not your latest score. So if you get a 5 out of 5, and if you take it again and get a less score, I think it will save your 5. If not, then let me know. All right. I intend you to get, your 5 points and then, to be able to freely look at it again and again and again. And these are quick. You take it in the moments of time in your day. right? I don't want you to say, okay, I got to sit down and study 146 for 3 hours today. No, no, no. It's, you're waiting at the bus stop. You're between, TV shows, right? You take a quiz. You just take it as much as you can. Now, the exams. So you will have 4 exams, um, spread out throughout the semester. Those are proctored, and you only get one shot at that. But if look at, so what the tutor's going to do is she's going to try to help streamline the questions, I think, on the quizzes, and she's going to look carefully and try to help you and quiz you. So let's say you don't have a lot of time, or you didn't do that, just to go see the tutor. She's going to help you with the lecture part here. And again, she's going to be looking for things that are going to help you save time. So don't think of it as like wasted time. So hopefully that answered that question. And just to start taking these quizzes, right? The syllabus quiz, it's unlimited, and just start taking it, right? And you don't want to wait to the end of the week to do everything. It's just, if you really want to understand the material, you just gotta every day just kind of do something. Take a little quiz, watch a video, um, you know, spread it out throughout the week, and then it's going to be, really not too difficult if you do that. Now, starting next week, okay, will be the bone stuff. Okay, so there's a separate again, I had to think about how am I going to present this, because you have to know bones and muscles, in addition to all these other stuff, specific bones and muscles. So I spread out the bones and the muscles throughout the semester, and you will take a bone exam and a muscle exam. Okay, and so I can't remember. It's like the week before spring break in, it's like the end of March, you'll take your bone exam. And so, starting next week, there'll be a bone list. And I do want to point out something I think I mentioned in the orientation video, but okay, okay, everything you have to make a copy of, it's a Google document. And so you have to be in the Santa Barbara City College Google Drive. And I've gotten a lot of emails already about, hey, can I have access? But you all have access if you're in your Santa Barbara City College. All right, so in a on a bone list, there'll be the features that you need to know, as well as a video. So there's a video that actually shows me with the bone and holding it and pointing to the features on it. Now, you will only be quizzed on diagrams. Okay, so I provide those diagrams. And on these diagrams, there's lots of other features that you are not responsible for. Okay, so that's really important to know. And that there's going to be extra things on the diagrams as well as even in the videos. So on the video, there's extra features, because and what I will be doing for future like the next class is that I'm going to re-record those for this class specifically, right? And if I have time, I'll start doing that so you don't have all these extra features that you're not responsible for. So I did use the videos that I also use for BMS 100. And so there might be, there'll be most of them on there, and not too many extras, but there may be some extras. So you have to really pay attention to your list, and then, look at the video. Okay. Um, this is where the tutor is going to really help you, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time, because provided the videos and the list and diagrams, okay, for you to study. But it's the tutor who's going to go over this and help you ways to remember it and quiz you on it to prepare you for the bone exam. Okay, so now what I've also provided are bone quizzes. Okay, so these are not graded, but you really need to take them every week. So starting with week 2, I have the clavicle and scapula you have to know, but then here's a practice bone quiz. Okay, so you want to start taking those practice, and again, you don't want to wait till right before the bone exam to take these because um, then it's a lot of material. Okay, so I can't remember how many, 6 or 7 weeks of bones, and you just don't want to wait. So again, these are really short and quick, unlimited, and these are not graded. So you just take it, between time. I like to tell people bathroom time. All right, people take their phones in and look at YouTube videos or whatever. Take a quiz, take a little practice quiz, and just start a routine. All right, like today I'm going to do this, and tomorrow I'm going to do this, and spread it out and have your week planned out like that. Okay. And then there's other things in that ungraded resources. So do check that out because I do provide my lectures without the embedded questions because sometimes people, just want to watch parts of the video and not have to have questions pop up. And so that's what those are. And then images, right? So the images are there so you can use those images in your study guide. And so you want to make your study guide really nice and have it look like mine. And yeah, so and what we do here today is not really lecture because I provided the lectures for you. All right, so this is where you get the information. And in those lectures I actually fill out the study guide. So if you haven't started those, start them right away. Look at them again, they're unlimited, and but you do want to answer the questions correctly. So if you miss something, go back and get that point back. Okay, don't think that a point isn't going to be helpful. I have had students miss like a grade by like 1 or 2 points. It's kind of heartbreaking, but so we never kind of throw away points that are easy to get. All right, so again, you do the same kind of things each week. You have your chapters, you're going to have a lecture and a quiz with each chapter, and then, fill out the study guide as you go, and then, learn the bones picked for that week, and just work through that. Okay, and then it'll be week 4 where you take your first exam. Okay, and the first exam, um, will be on the lecture material, all those lectures that you were watching. All right. And then, you won't have your bone exam until, oh, I don't know, I think it's week 9, bone exam. So that one's proctored also, and you get one shot. So all the exams are what's going to be proctored. Okay. And then, about the proctoring. So just kind of, don't worry too much about it. I know, to have you recorded, it will record your face and your screen. So you just want to make sure your face is in being viewed instead of like being like this or like this or something like that. It has to be able to see your face, and the lighting has to be good enough to be able to see your face. But, other than that, just, try to behave normally and hopefully, and if there is a problem, and I think I mentioned it in the orientation, if someone comes in, if your kids come running in screaming, that's okay. It'll raise a flag, but if I go to look, it'll be, oh, how cute. Okay. So don't worry about it. If things like that happen and it's flagged, it's not a big deal. Okay. Unless there is a problem, right? So, and I can see, what is a problem and what isn't. So, all right. Any questions? just as far as navigation, and I know you guys just started looking at this. So, save that up or just email me. I get back to students really quickly if you email me. And don't use your personal emails. Be sure to use the City College or the Canvas email is fine. I check both of those. So, um, any questions? Okay, so you want to just be doing everything in here. So there will sometimes be links on the sides, like sometimes like things that are due pop up on the sidebars and um and don't go searching for things. Okay, you should not have to look for anything. Okay. Everything that you need to complete is in and it's linked in the module, right? Because people go down holes or people go to assignments that were like from past. I've had that before where I forgot to close something or I can't remember, but people go down rabbit holes off the sides looking for things and clicking on links that are on the side here. Sometimes I have um, like in the grade book, I'll have an empty assignment because I have to physically manually put those grades in and it will come up as an assignment and you click on it and there's nothing there. So again, only what is in the modules what you need to do and that's it. And again, if there's a mistake or I forgot to link something or something's not right, then just shoot me an email. And due dates and things like that. If I make a mistake, you guys always benefit. Okay, you get points. Even a bad question, you can email me and say, hey, that wasn't on the test or that wasn't on the study guide, that you never talked about that. And that's happened before. And if that's the case, that's on me. And so I always award points or make it to your benefit if there's an error. So since this is my first time teaching this course, there's going to be errors in it. You always want to find the errors. Not that you're searching for my flaws, but anyway, you know, it's helpful to me to find those now. Okay. And I will never, penalize anybody for my mistake. So, all right. So hopefully, just complete this simple bio and get that in. It's easy points. The syllabus quiz is open syllabus, open notes, and you just do that quickly. It's more about kind of utilizing that quiz tool so you can see how that works. And as I mentioned, that all these assignments, the little chapter quizzes are all open notes and unlimited attempts. So, just start right away and just watch the video and then take the quiz and see how you do and then just keep taking it over and over and over again. All right, so that's kind of what your week's going to look like. It gets a little more hairy as we next week as we get into add the bones stuff. Okay, it's a little added stuff to our weekly routine, and then after spring break it will turn into muscles. All right, and then you'll have a muscle exam also at the end of the semester. Okay, let's see. Are you guys good? Have you guys looked at stuff? Able to look at stuff? Okay. And let's see. And anytime you have the opportunity and I'm going to say this a lot, to understand instead of memorize, especially with the bones and the muscles, we want to tend to memorize it, like just have a list and you look at it over and over, you write it out over and over and you study over and over. But instead of just memorizing it, which is, it doesn't really last as far as, um, maybe in your profession or as you go out in the world, but it's the understanding that's more important. Why did they name it that? What does that word mean in Greek or Latin? Um, to try to discover that. And I try to talk about it when I'm going through terminology or new terms and things like that. If you understand it, then it can be utilized in a lot more maybe different systems and things like that. So for example, I know I say that a lot, but an example would be like the arm. The arm, oh, there's my arm. The arm in Latin or Greek is brachium, okay, or brachy. So brachium is just the translation for arm in Latin or Greek. And so if you understand that, instead of, memorizing it, brachium means arm, um, you can apply it to a lot of things. So when we talk about where's the brachial artery, right? If you understood that brachium means arm, right? Then you'll know where to find it. If we're looking for a muscle, the biceps brachii, or the brachialis muscle, or the brachioradialis muscle, right? What is that term, the words trying to tell you about it? Like the brachioradialis is one that starts on the arm, meaning, here in the humerus, and it's going to end on the radius, which is a different bone, right? So instead of just memorizing it, this is the biceps brachii. Okay, what do the words mean? Biceps is bi is two. You think of bicycle, it's two. So there's two, seps is heads or parts to it, and then brachii in the arm. So it's a two-headed muscle on the arm. So you see what I mean? And then, when you go and take your board exams or you're given questions, diseases, structures that maybe you've never heard of, or you didn't learn here. I never mentioned it. Well, you could figure it out if you understood the terms, right? And so I'll be talking a lot about that. And so you guys, I think, have to take medical terminology at some point. That is a really important course. So take it seriously and really get into that course because it will save you a lot of time and effort in your professions. So, okay. I think, let's see, I don't see any questions. I will talk about a couple things. Oh, there's a question. Oh, books. Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna share a new thing. Okay, so this is oops, I can't you see? Um, let's see, I'm trying to share hmm. Okay, my document camera is not working. Okay, you guys can't see anything right on the screen. Is it black? Okay. All right.
Yes, all black.
Okay, let me disconnect this and reconnect. So I'm using a document camera, and that's what I'll be utilizing. Okay, and we will be having to deal with technology. So let me try this again. Oh, I see what's wrong. Okay, sorry. Figured out my problem. I have to wait for it to load.
Is this a book that we will be using? Wait, sorry. I think it's my camera.
Oh yeah, let me
Let me change the background. Oh, there you go.
I'll change my background too.
Let's see.
Is this what you got?
Yes, that one.
Okay. Yes, that's it. So, and there are other versions, like this is the 2025 release. I don't even know what that means. that instead of editions, they've released different versions, or I'm not really sure. But anyway, any I think any release, so it doesn't have to be the
I
most
got the electronic thing like like I go
the
through
ebook.
the connect. Yes.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. So if you have an access code, you can get into the publisher website and so that okay. So that will get you into the ebook too. So, you could do it that way also. And that's fine. Really any anatomy physiology textbook will work. So if you have one at home or that you know, someone had, that's fine. The great thing about anatomy and physiology is that it doesn't change a lot over time. Sure, there's new things and there'll be different things highlighted. We don't work directly from the book. In other words, I'm not going to, pick assignments out of there or any particular thing other than the content. And so, again, most anatomy physiology books will cover similar things. The order of the chapters and things like that may be a little different, but don't spend a lot. But you do want a good anatomy physiology book and keep it because in your profession, you're going to need to refer to it. So it is a good investment. Okay, think of it as an investment in a book that you will keep. All right.
I also got this one. I don't know if this it helps with the studying.
Oh, the coloring book. Coloring book is awesome. So that'll help. And sure. And anything we learn, there's just something that about drawing and coloring that reinforces things in your brain.
Mhm.
So anytime you have the opportunity to draw, so as you're watching my lectures, and if I draw something, you'll want to draw it also.
Okay.
And it's not um it's not just to waste time or anything, but yeah, there's some kind of memorization thing that happens as you draw it. And in fact, when I ask students, hey, do you know this material or do you know that structure? If I and they say, yeah, I know that, but if I ask them to draw it, um, a lot of people can't do it, right? So they don't really know it. If you can draw it without like looking at anything, you know it. Okay, that's what I find. Those people know it if they can draw it.
Yeah,
Like a
no, I
book,
agree. I think it does
yeah,
help.
definitely. So that coloring book, and that's really fun to be able to color. And but anytime you have the opportunity to draw it, to just do it, and follow with me in the lectures as I do it, because I do use a document camera also on it on those lectures. So that's good. Any other questions? Because I do want to talk about some things. And so what I'll do in these lectures, if there, aren't questions or whatever, I'll kind of pick some concepts that are maybe a little more difficult that week and go over it again. And so it's reinforced because there's a couple really important concepts this week that I think, for just the human body, understanding it is very important. A lot of it is very straightforward, like, you know, learn these levels of organization, right? That's pretty straightforward. But I wanted to talk about something called homeostasis. So that's part of this first lecture. And so this is, from chapter 1. So homeostasis kind of governs all the processes in our body. Our body, and I see the word home in this. So, what kind of home environment do we want? We want it consistent, constant, stable, right? When we come home, we want it those things. So, same with inside our body. So, this is maintaining maintaining a stable. Oh, there's some dishes that are rather. Okay, a stable, constant, relatively constant internal environment. And in the lecture, I give an example of like your body temperature. So we regulate our body temperature throughout the day, right? We wake up in the morning and it's cold in the morning. So this is homeostasis. And in terms of body temperature, we keep our body temperature at about what, 98.6 degrees, right? So we call that a set point. So in our body, all chemicals, all conditions in our body has some type of set point that is, where we want to keep it to be healthy, to be alive. And so for temperature, it's about this, and our brain sets that. Okay. So when we wake up in the morning, it's cold, right? So what happens to our body temperature? It's going to start to drop. Okay. And it's going to start moving away from homeostasis. So we have to have mechanisms in place to not let it continue in that direction. And so what is the mechanism that we might use that kicks in to prevent this from keep going down? So what do we do in the morning, maybe? Other than putting on clothes, because that's like a behavioral thing, or a blanket or
Either.
shiver. All right. So our body just naturally shivers. And by shivering, it contracts the muscles and produces heat. Okay. So our body temperatures come up back to homeostasis. Now, throughout the day, let's say the sun's out, or we go for a run, or we exercise, or something, yeah, if it gets to 90 degrees, okay, our body temperature is going to start to increase. What kicks in? A mechanism kicks in. What do we do?
With sweat?
We sweat. Okay. And by sweating, right, we evaporate water off of our skin, and that actually carries heat away. And so that brings our temperature back down. So throughout the day, we have these mechanisms that are going to be utilized to keep our body in homeostasis, like that. And so think of it like the thermostat in our house. We have a set point, right? Mine's like at 65. I like my house kind of cold, but it might be 70 degrees in your house. You set it at that. And in the morning, what happens? If it goes below that, the heater kicks on, and the heat brings the temperature back up. In the daytime, most of us here in California don't have air conditioning, or here where I am, because it doesn't really get hot that often. But if you're living in another part of the desert or something, then as the temperature rises, the house temperature rises, and what kicks in? The air conditioning, and that brings it. So our body and everything in it is regulated. So I'm going to use the term regulation. It's regulated by different mechanisms. Okay. But so this is temperature. Okay, so this is body temperature. But think of every chemical, every condition in our body has different mechanisms that are kicking in when we go out of homeostasis. And when we don't kick those in, let's say there's a problem with one of these things, all right, that's when you get disease and death. Okay, illness and death as you move beyond homeostasis and lose that ability to come back, right? And so, healthcare providers, they got to figure out what is the mechanism that's broken and how do we get it back, right? So In the lecture, I talk about different kinds of mechanisms. In general, we call them negative feedback and positive feedback. So be sure to pay attention to what those mean. But another example would be like blood sugar. Okay, I don't give any other examples in the lecture. I just use body temperature. But let's look at some other ones here because I want to give you something, beyond what I already give you. So let's take a look at blood sugar. Okay, you let's say you had 3 donuts this morning. Okay, what's gonna happen? I saw your eyebrows raised, like, whoa. Okay. Um, So let's say I ate 3 donuts this morning. Okay. I didn't tell anybody, but I'm telling you. I didn't really, but what happens to my blood sugar?
It
Okay.
goes up. Mhm.
Yeah, it's gonna go up. So as I digest that the donuts and that, and we'll learn about that, all those processes of digestion and then absorption, it's going to be absorbed into my bloodstream as we break it down into the sugars. It's going to go in my bloodstream and my blood glucose is going to rise. Okay. So glucose is sugar. Now, there's going to be a mechanism that kicks in, right, to bring that back down. And in this case, it's a hormone called insulin. Okay, so now it's different, right? This is a hormone, whereas sweat and shivering were a completely different mechanism. But now I'm going to secrete a hormone. Actually, my pancreas is going to secrete a hormone called insulin. And what that does is it removes the blood sugar from my blood and puts it into the cells. And we spend a unit on, or a chapter on endocrine, the endocrine system, and that is fascinating. Those are hormones. So now I have a specific hormone just for glucose. And what it does, it will take the sugar out of my blood, and my blood sugar will go down. Well, maybe you didn't have breakfast, okay, and you're just waiting for me to finish talking so you can go eat some breakfast or lunch or but what's happening to your blood sugar right now? It's going down.
Going down.
Yeah. And our brain runs on glucose, sugar. And so you may feel it if you're lightheaded, but most of the time we don't pass out, right? Because our blood sugar goes down. Why? It's because there's another mechanism that kicks in. There's a second hormone secreted by the pancreas called glucagon, right? And now that is going to, that hormone is released from the pancreas into the blood. It's going to go to the liver and cause stored glucose in the liver to be converted into blood glucose. So it causes release of glucose into our blood, and our blood sugar does this. So, and do you even think about this? Do you even think about, your temperature, your blood sugar throughout the day? No, you don't, because your body just does it. And so throughout the day, you're doing this all day. So now if you're have diabetes mellitus, okay, and we'll talk in endocrine about the different types, but let's say you have type 1 diabetes, which you don't make insulin. Okay, so what's the problem here? It doesn't control, it doesn't kick in and control your blood glucose, right? So you have to take insulin injections. You have to check your blood glucose throughout the day, and you have to do it independent, right? But you could see how we get disease states, how we get, illness is because these mechanisms aren't working, right? And so as we go through this course, um, let me think of maybe another example. So this is, a completely different one. Let's talk about water. Okay, so water in our body. Okay. Um, so we obviously need a certain amount of water in our body. Um, let's say you don't drink a lot of water. And I was kind of bad about that. So I don't drink a lot of water. I do now. but because something happened, and I'll tell you about that in a second. All right, so because I understood the mechanism to control body water. So let's say my water content in my body goes down, okay? There's something that happens. You secrete a hormone called ADH. All right, anti-diuretic hormone secreted uh, by the brain, and it works on the kidneys. And so what it does is it allows you to conserve water. So instead of peeing out your water, you pee less, right? But there's a hormone that controls the amount of pee that you have in a day. And it's all based on your water. Okay. If you have, you're thirsty, you haven't drinking water, it's going to keep more of the water in your body. So you urinate yet less, right? Does that make sense? I mean, you all kind of know that. All right. I don't drink water. I'm not going to have to go to the bathroom as much. Okay. And so it conserves the water and your water content is maintained. Okay. You drink a ton of water. Okay. Then you don't, actually this is different. You don't secrete ADH. So you don't conserve water and you pee a lot. Okay. And you get rid of the water in that way. So if you have a ton of water in your body, you don't need the hormone. And if it's not secreted, then it doesn't keep the water in your body and it's just released. And so you pee a lot. And, I think people know that, right? You drink a lot of water, you don't have to go to the bathroom more. But it's all controlled by, or a lot of it is controlled by hormones. Okay. And also what happened is I said, I know my ADH is going to take care of it. It's going to keep me hydrated. But then I got kidney stones. Okay. So there's other processes, right? The water flushes out systems and it dilutes little crystals that can form. Well, when I don't drink enough, the crystals form and they clog up my urinary system, which we'll learn all about. And okay, then I had to have it. It was so big they had to go in and remove it. So anyway, so then it's not just this, right? It reminded me, okay, there's other reasons why we do these things. So anyway, so as we go through, I want you to kind of pay attention to this. It always comes back to homeostasis. And even though I might not talk about it, but I will talk about regulatory mechanisms and how we regulate all these different things in these different organ systems. So it's kind of fun. And it's not just for your profession, but certainly you're going to utilize what you learn here every day in your profession, right? You're going to be reading about these things and have to make decisions based on your understanding, right, of these mechanisms and these things that are going on. And but then just for your own health, right? This class is we learn about the human body, the anatomy, the physiology, and just to be able to make better decisions on our own health, I think is really important. So some other things is terminology. So there's a lot of terminology, anatomical terminology. So we'll, use terminology such as, anterior, posterior, superior, inferior. Okay, there's going to be tons of terminology. This is really important, especially I think for you guys, because you're going to be reading things that are going to be using medical terminology all the time. And to just really to be able to understand it and to use it instead of layman's terms. Okay, so get in the habit of talking about the human body in terms of medical terminology. I think then to use it in your kind of everyday life. And so I go over a bunch of terms and things like that, and try to understand that. Which I think of like sections, like we talk about sagittal section. sagittal, coronal sections in the body. So like MRIs and CT scans and things like that, they're going to utilize different sections through the body, right? And you have to understand what kind of section it is to understand, what your image you're looking at or things like that. So I just think you're going to see these terms a lot in the things that you do. Okay, so really pay attention to the anatomical terminology. I think that will be helpful. Let's see. We only have a few more minutes. The last thing on this chapter, so you got to go through all that, but about membranes. So there's a type of membrane that people don't really maybe have never heard about. And I don't think I go into too much detail, but I do want to talk about that. So this is the last question in chapter 1. So it talks about a membrane called the serous membrane. Okay, and there are different types of membranes in the body. We have a cutaneous membrane, which is the skin. We have synovial membranes, which are in joints, and mucous membranes that line passageways to the outside world, right? So in respiratory, digestive, urinary, reproductive systems, there's passageways with an opening to the outside. So those are lined by a different kind of membrane called the mucous membrane that makes mucus. This is the serous membrane is are membranes that are found lining internal cavities that don't have openings, direct openings to the outside. Okay, so there are 3. There's a pericardium. So cardium, like cardiac, refers to heart. Peri means around. So right now we learn, some terms. And what does this word mean? It literally means around the heart. Okay, so this surrounds the heart. And if we understand that now, right? So when we talk about the cardiac notch in a lung, okay, so in a completely different organ, there's a term called the cardiac notch. Cardiac means heart. So in the left lung, there's a little notch there for where the heart sits. Okay. But if you understood cardiac now, then when you see that term, you automatically know it means the heart. And peri, if you know that it means around, so I think like a periscope in a submarine, right? And I like to think of a term that I already know. So a periscope in a submarine, you put the periscope up and you can look all the way around, like 360 around to see what's, above the water, right? So peri means around. And so now when you see paramysium, you know it means myo means muscle. So now you know around the muscle. Periosteum, os means bone, which we'll learn later, but now you know peri's around, so you know it's something around the bone, right? So that's what I mean by understanding. Don't just memorize that this lining is called the pericardium. Okay, that's memorizing. You link it to one thing instead of understanding what it is, and then you apply it to everything else you're going to run into. Okay, you see these terms over and over and over again. And like I said, when you get to a board exam question, a structure you've never seen or a disease you've never heard of, if you approached your study that way, you could figure out anything. You could figure out any disease, any term, organ system that you're dealing with based on that. All right, so the pericardium, there's a pleura, which is around the lungs. And there is a peritoneum, which is around abdominal, pelvic structures or organs. Okay, so in the abdomen and in the pelvic cavity. So there's a membrane that surrounds that. Now that's complicated, and we'll talk about that later. But let's look at something simple. So the pericardium, so here's our heart. Okay, so let's say that's our heart. That's an ugly heart. But anyway, here's our heart. And there's like big vessels that come out of the top. Wow, that's really bad. Okay, I can't look at that. Okay, let's go down here. I want to make a better heart. And the heart's a little curved. Okay, so it's pointy at the bottom. All right, so here's our heart. And how does the membrane work? So the membrane, there's a part of the membrane that adheres right on the surface of the organ. So it can be the lung, it can be the stomach. But then there's a part of the lining, the membrane that lines the cavity, like this. And it creates this double membrane structure, right? Now, each one of these, this is both pericardium, but we call this the parietal pericardium to just distinguish the different areas. This is the, visceral pericardium. So viscera means like an organ. Okay, so if you eviscerate someone, you take out their organs, right? An animal. Have you ever heard of that? Evisceration is they take out all the organs and stuff out of the intestines and stuff. So viscera means the organ. So the visceral one is sitting right on top of the organ, like it adheres right on the surface. And then in between is a cavity. So we call it the pericardial cavity. Now, this is really interesting because, like, why is it set up like that? Why isn't it just a membrane around it? Because all these structures, the heart, the lungs, all the abdominal pelvic structures, they move. The heart beats. And this setup, the serous membranes secrete a fluid. So there's a fluid secreted in here that's really viscous. It's like a lubricant. And so we have two different membranes, the parietal and the visceral, with a lubricant in between. So when the heart moves or the lungs move, it prevents friction and heat. And it allows this to move without creating friction. It is a genius, right? Versus just a membrane around it. And it's like, wow, that makes so much sense that it's like that. And so, also if you're doing surgery, right, you're a heart surgeon, you have to know what you're going to go through in order to get to the heart. So you have to understand the pericardium, right? And so, you're going to read about diseases and things like that. And you're going to read about the pericardium, pericarditis, right? Itis is inflammation or infection of the pericardium, right? So, and then understanding this orientation is important, I think, in just understanding, more fully the heart and all these internal organs. So anyway, I hope it's like piquing your interest, like, okay, we're going to get into some good stuff and stuff that's really important in medicine and understanding your own body. And, to encourage you to come, but know that, I record these, but I don't know if no one comes. I don't know if I'm just going to like talk to myself, maybe I'll record like something. I'll record something, but anyway, it's much more fun if you guys are here. And if you can to come, but know that I record everything. So okay, that's a good start. Finish chapter 1. You only have one chapter, but most weeks there'll be 2 chapters. to do. And the earlier you start in the week, boom, 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 just get it done. And then, with remaining time, you just take practice quizzes and take quizzes over and over and over again. Tutoring starts next week, and maybe we'll go back to just to because I will stress it like every week, because if our tutors aren't used, we get that funding taken away. So it's just kind of, one of those things I just want to encourage you to go, but she will make it worthwhile. You just click on the Zoom link. Her sessions are um, Wednesday, 6 to 7:30, and then Saturday, 9 to 10:30. So if you can hit one of those, she's gonna, quiz you, especially on like the bones. And when we get to muscles, she's going to do that definitely. And then, go over any lecture things, anything that you have questions on. So, but again, this is a new class for me and you. So, let's just communicate. If there's something going, on, just, hey, Patty, or whatever, we can figure anything out. So even though it's online.
And don't give up on the sessions just yet.
Yeah,
Because
right.
I have a feeling that as the classes progress and the weeks come in, we'll probably have more questions too. So this will
Yes,
serve very purposeful for maybe things like that as as time goes. So,
it's
right
perfect.
now we don't have
Yeah.
a lot of questions because we're just starting.
Because
So,
you just looked at
but
it
I'm sure they'll
yesterday.
come up.
That's good.
Yes,
But
I
feel
agree.
free to email me right away, because I don't want you to sit and think, oh, okay, I got to wait till Tuesday to ask her. I'm very communicative, and I'll answer right away. I just don't want you guys hanging, but any like how, suggestions and things like that. Any questions? Oh, there is also I also put let's see, a forum. So in each week in the ungraded section, there's I called it a study guide forum. So here you can post a question for your classmates and for me, and you just click it and say, hey, did anybody understand this or not understand it, or where do I find this? You can post it in there. And so please help each other out too, because I don't want it just between me and you, but it would be nice if you could form a community and ask questions there also of each other and
That's
help.
good because I did have that before in other classes. Where they
Mm-hmm.
did have we had a chat room or a forum where it was every day we would discuss the week's work, whether we had questions and kind of help each other out. So that's good to know that we can use a study guide forum for that.
And it doesn't have to be just about the study guide, right? It can be
Yeah.
anything. Even like, hey, anybody want to, form a study group or something like that, and to put things in there where you can communicate with other people. So check that out, and just kind of check it through the week to see if anybody has a question that maybe you can help with. So, okay, you guys. Nice to meet you. I see all your names, and I look forward to the semester. It'll be fun.
Thank you. We do too.
Okay. Have a good
Thank
day.
you.
Have a good week.